Right now we need Nicholas Moreano, though. Let's bring him in from Halas Hall. He was there this morning to cover Kevin Byard's press conference. DeAndre Swift also expected to talk to reporters maybe an hour-ish from now. He still was getting in the building today. But we did hear from Kevin Byard, Nick, and clearly, now this was a reminder to everybody, he was released a couple weeks ago, so he was eligible to sign before free agency started. He took his visit with the Bears last weekend and decided to sign up on Sunday before the negotiating window officially opened on Monday for everybody else. So he wanted to be a Bear, right, Nick?
That's right, Adam. And, this is Kevin Byard's first time really testing free agency, but he knew that he would bounce back on his feet quickly. And look, here's what he had to say on what attracted him to join the Chicago Bears.
Well, first and foremost, it's a blessing to be here. I'm going on year 9 in this league. To be playing this long or to even get to this year 9 has been a huge blessing, something I've dreamed about as a kid. But for the Bears specifically, this defense, I really like what Coach Matt is building here. Just as a team, there's a lot of things to be excited about. But like I said, this defense has a lot of great pieces here for sure, especially in the secondary. Obviously, just signed Jalen to a big extension. I really think highly of him. He's a really great player. And obviously, getting with Brisker, Jaquan, I think he's going to be he's a really good extended player as well. But obviously, a lot of pieces from Kyler Gordon. Obviously, Tyreek Stevenson was a rookie last year. So, like was doing the secondary. And obviously, you got Montez Sweat, who obviously brought into the trade. Actually, Montez went to my rival high school, Stevenson High School down in Georgia. So, like I said, a lot of great pieces and obviously 2 really good linebackers. So, excited about this defense and just excited about the prospect of what we can build this team and the challenge of obviously trying to knock Detroit off the high horse.
Yeah, so, guys, you hear him naming specific players, especially in that secondary. It's arguably one of the best groups that Byard's going to be a part of. And so it makes sense that Byard is intrigued about what the whole entire unit can accomplish. And I asked Byard, too, with the uncertainty at quarterback, was that a factor in him maybe being hesitant to sign with Chicago? But he said, no, not at all. Responsibility for him is to be the best safety he can be for this organization. So he'll leave those types of bigger picture, decisions up to obviously the higher ups. But no matter what the organization does, Byard believes that it'll be the right one.
Hey, Nick, you know me well. What bothered me most about that initial cut that we played?
What bothered you most?
Mm-hmm.
You called him Coach Matt?
Nope. Well, I didn't like that part either.
Okay.
His name is
That's
Flus.
what I was thinking.
I didn't like the Matt part. Flus is his name. What else? Anybody?
No.
Does
what was it?
Does anyone know me on the show?
Well, what we know about you is to know that you're about to say something stupid, and we're just unsure what it's about to be.
Right.
Well,
that's all we know.
There are no depths to your stupidity. So, this is.
I guarantee you that there's at least one other person that's annoyed by this, and maybe the chat will get it before you 3 supposed teammates. Anybody?
Okay.
Thank you, Larry Price. 2 linebackers. Larry Price is my guy. 2 linebackers. Have you heard of the Sand God? You named everybody. You didn't name him. Then you only named 2 linebackers. Mm-hmm. Byard. I said at the start of the show I loved him. Didn't listen to that quote as well as I should have. That's on me. Byard fired. I'm out on Byard. Guy stinks.
You know what? I'm going to back you up on this.
Thank you.
But it's going to be maybe even more terrifying. And I'm not going to say who it was, but I was having a conversation with a current Chicago Bears coach at the Combine, and the same thing happened. And I yelled at him. I said, "What about Sand God?"
The guy just got the Ed Block Courage Award. Virginia McCaskey was there. We will not slander the Sand God like that. That is not acceptable. Emma, who just arrived, thank you.
He's going into the last year of his contract too, you guys. So this is a big year for the Sand God. So he can potentially earn himself a payday if he goes out there and is able to get some reps on the football field this season.
All right. One of the most impressive things that I did not know, Nick, until he said it, and good job, I think Pat Finley followed up just to be clear on it. But Kevin Byard apparently has never missed a practice due to injury his entire NFL career. That's unheard of. Like, hasn't missed a Wednesday because his ankle's a little sore from the game. Like, that's awesome.
That's great. Let's never speak of it again. after today. I mean, like, seriously, the walking jinx that is Adam Hoge. Like, do not talk about this.
Right. We'll have a after dark or a diehard overtime about you and your jinxes.
Well,
but that
Nick,
was impressive, though, was it, Nick? I mean, did it stand out to you?
Yeah, I mean, for a guy that's going into his 9th season and, hasn't even missed practice, I mean, that just shows, again, I think it's the attention to detail that he really makes it just an imperative part of his game. And, he was asked, like, how can you do that? And he's like, well, the details show up in how he takes care of his body, takes body maintenance really seriously. And as a saying goes, like, your best ability is availability. And for the most part, Byard has been available when he was with Tennessee, even after he got traded and was playing for the Philadelphia Eagles for 10 games. He didn't miss snaps there. So I think that just describes the attention to detail. But, also that shows up when he was kind of talking about his already new teammates. And it was about halfway through the season where Byard was talking about, guys like Jaquan Brisker, Jalen Johnson, they were showing up on tape because this is a guy that loves to constantly watch tape. So he's already getting familiarized with some of their game as, he's going through his season with the Philadelphia Eagles, but also noticing that guys in that secondary are also popping off. So it is incredible that he has been this healthy. Hopefully that, continues over here in Chicago as he's still kind of here roaming and exploring the facility here. But yeah, that availability will be huge for the Bears because, look, Eddie Jackson towards the tail end of his career, he did the exact opposite. He was dealing with some injuries, so it'd be nice to have that veteran presence on the football field at, when they need it on game days.
Yeah, well, I mean, but to your point, like, that he's been able to stay healthy, just because he's not missed a practice doesn't mean he's necessarily always healthy. I mean, right? I mean, players are constantly battling through injuries. So to me, that's leading by example. And even when you're not 100% showing up to work every day and getting your practice in, and that's, I think something other players, that's a contagiousness that other players will, follow that lead. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that probably stood out to most people watching, the press conferences. It seems like this guy, exudes a lot of leadership.
Absolutely, Greg. I mean, that's what he wants to be. He wants to be an asset to the secondary because of that leadership perspective. And to show that leadership, he wants to first earn the players' respect. And he said you can simply do that by showing up every single day, working hard, and just studying in the classroom. And once that respect is then earned by showing it with the actions, then you lead by example. And then Byard feels like then he can be more vocal and kind of share that wisdom, so to speak, because he is the oldest player in this Bears secondary. But the first part is just earning the players' respect, and that just kind of he's going to continue doing what he's always done: show up every single day, be on the field, and then he'll start being vocal after that.
Nick, what's his big motivation this season as he joins this team? What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, so it isn't his age. Look, he's 30 years old, and guys, Gordon, Brisker, and Jalen Johnson are all right now 24. Jalen Johnson will be 25 in April, I think a day before Jaquan Brisker. So it's not the age that he's motivated by. Simply, he just wants to continue doing what he's doing. He's excited about being around the younger players and being a resource for them. And also, even though the Titans traded him, and the Eagles are done with him after 10 games, he isn't in that business to really prove anybody wrong. He's more simply looking to prove himself right, excited to display his ball hawking skills, and feels confident those attributes will show up now that he's in a defense that really has playmakers at all three levels. So that's the motivation that Kevin Byard, finds for himself going into year 9, being at 30 years old, and obviously still looking for a Super Bowl ring, but he finds motivation, just continue to do what he's been doing and just leading by example.
Hey, Nick, slight left turn as Tyler Boyd signs with the Steelers to apparently team up with Russ. Any free agent as you're sitting at Halas Hall today that you're thinking about that you love the Bears to go after you listen to one of the ones they signed?
Love to go after. I mean, look, I'm still going to be on the Curtis Samuel train, just adding more playmakers at the wide receiver position, because I think there just isn't – you guys were talking about it in depth yesterday, but they just need to add more guys for, this offense in 2024. It's nice to have a Gerald Everett and, DeAndre Swift, who we'll listen to a little bit, but you need to add more veteran receiver presence for this offense in 2024. So putting out a guy like Curtis Samuel and see, maybe we'll see what the Bears can do. I don't know if I'm really in on the Mike Williams, even though he got released, the injuries. I know the connection with the Bears wide receiver coach, but that would be a risky move in my opinion. But if the Bears were to go that route, it does fill a position of need. But I think Curtis Samuel's a guy to maybe keep your eyes on.
Couple minor quarterback movement things going on right now. I'm going to share with you guys, Nick, maybe get your reaction too. But Nathan Peterman apparently is going to sign with the Saints. That would reunite him with Andrew Janocko. So that one makes sense. But Jonathan Jones from CBS reporting the Falcons are working on a trade that will send quarterback Desmond Ridder to the Arizona Cardinals. Ridder, who went 8-9 across 2 years as a starter, would back up Kyler Murray as the Falcons move forward with Kirk Cousins. That will be interesting to see what the trade compensation is for a Desmond Ridder compared to obviously what ends up happening with Justin Fields. But so far, I'm not seeing anywhere else what that compensation will be, but we will communicate that as soon as we see it.
Well, the Desmond Ridder, again, once we hear what the trade compensation is, it's like, okay, you look at that for Justin Fields then, and whatever it is, it has to be higher than that. Like that's maybe like the benchmark, right? And so at least we're seeing
Mac Jones trade, right? I mean, Mac Jones, 6th-round pick. Come on, it's got to be more than that.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And, I was talking to some of the people here at Halas Hall, B report, and it's like I was thinking maybe this doesn't get done until draft day, when, the Bears are ultimately looking to select the number 1 overall pick and something ends up happening. But yeah, it's going to be interesting how those dominoes fall. And with obviously the quarterback market being what it is, and maybe potentially teams not wanting to give up a pick, and obviously you have the 5th year extension, things like that. So there's a lot of complicated things when it comes to Justin Fields and where his possible next destination will be.
Nick, you're going to be talking to DeAndre Swift here in a little bit at Halas Hall. What are you most looking forward to trying to learn about, Swift?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things. One thing that I was just thinking about as I was actually setting up here, he's played behind some really good centers in his career, whether it was with Detroit or even with the Eagles. Like, how much of a factor that position, having a guy at that important position for the offense, how much of a factor that has for an offense, because the Bears, I think, could still use a dominant force at center. But, he had his best career rushing season last year. What kind of led to that ascension for himself? Because in Detroit, it didn't quite go the way I think Detroit wanted or he wanted, but what kind of led to that? Maybe it's just being behind a great offensive line. But, yeah, just a couple of things in the pipeline that I'm thinking about for DeAndre Swift and how he ultimately thinks he could be a complement to the Bears offense with a Khalil Herbert, Roschon Johnson, being more of a, running back by committee. But it'll be interesting to see if that's how Shane Waldron views this after the contract that, Swift just signed.
All right, Nick, good stuff. We'll be following you for DeAndre Swift's press conference.
Yeah, and just one thing, Nick, because I've what?
Whether we're ending a show or ending an interview, Hoge always wraps it,
Yes.
and then you always
interrupt with something
You've always
else.
got the one more.
Well,
You've always got the one more.
That's
Better be good.
It is very good. I've called out Nick in the past for bad hair, for just not, being on his game. Today, the vest, the hat, the sleeves, this dude, GQ is here today. I had to interrupt that. Look at the guy. Seriously.
That was actually my football coach gave me the nickname GQ in high school. I'm like, GQ, what is GQ? He's like, oh, you don't know what GQ is? I'm like, oh, okay. And then I looked into it. So it fits. Actually, I stole this vest from Ryan Poles, you guys. So, the video.
I see what you did there. Also was in GQ? Caleb Williams. Just saying. All right, Nick. We'll be following you. Make sure you're following Nick at Nicholas Moreano, ALLCITY.com for the rest of the free agency press conference. There's also going to be a couple tomorrow, so Nick will be at Halas Hall. We'll have all that covered tomorrow as well. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, GQ.
All right, you guys.
All right.
We all silly like the mayor.